Welcome to Recaply X, your movie recap in a flash. We bring the drama, the action, and the twists in minutes. The movie begins with a young man named John. John wakes up in the morning and decides not to go to school that day because he wants to play on the computer. He finds a message from his mother asking him to go out and buy food and household supplies, but John ignores the message and sits at the computer to play with his friends. While playing, he tells his friends in the game to turn on the TV immediately and watch the news. John becomes curious and turns on the TV, where the news anchor is speaking, but suddenly the broadcast cuts off. John grabs his phone and finds there's no signal. He looks out the window and sees people running in panic, some attacking each other without any clear reason. He sees a girl biting her mother in a horrific scene. John is shocked and doesn't understand what's happening, and there's no rescue arriving. He then hears people shouting in his building. When he looks through the peephole, he doesn't see anyone, so he decides to open the door. Suddenly, his neighbor barges in, saying that people outside have gone crazy. His brother attacked him at home, turning into a zombie and trying to kill him. The neighbor asks to stay with John for a while, but John refuses, suggesting he call the police instead. The neighbor calms down and asks to use John's bathroom before leaving. John agrees and lets him in. Meanwhile, the TV signal returns, and it's announced that both the signal and communications are unstable, and cities are in chaos due to a recently spread infection. Those infected turn into zombies, becoming extremely violent and feeding on human flesh. The anchor warns that anyone bitten by a zombie will also turn into one. Symptoms include bleeding from the eyes and severe pain before transformation. John, his neighbor, in the bathroom and decides to grab a knife to protect himself. The neighbor comes out, covering a wound on his neck. John raises the knife, but the neighbor tries to reassure him, saying he's fine and just needs an hour to rest. John notices blood on the neighbor's hand and becomes scared. Shortly after, the neighbor's eyes begin to bleed, and he looks in the mirror in shock, screaming. He starts convulsing, his body contorting as he fully transforms into a zombie. He attacks John, trying to bite him, but John quickly pushes him out of the apartment and stabs him in self-defense. John successfully locks himself inside. Looking through the peephole, he sees a massive zombie attacking and devouring his neighbor. John is horrified and remains silent so the zombie won't hear him. Blood from the neighbor seeps under the door, and John is overcome with fear. He moves a large fridge to block the apartment door, ensuring no one can enter. He washes his face, hoping it's all just a nightmare, but realizes it's real. He tries calling his sister, but the network is down. He receives a message from her saying, "Don't worry about us. We're safe. Never open the door and make sure your food lasts as long as possible. Take care of yourself and beware of the zombies everywhere." John looks at a photo of his family, hoping they stay safe. He checks his food supplies and discovers there's very little left. He regrets not listening to his mother and going out to buy food. He sleeps on the couch, and the next day, the news reports that the infection has spread further, with many people turning into zombies. The anchor interviews a doctor who explains that zombies exhibit extreme violence and aggression. She advises everyone to stay cautious, secure their homes, stockpile enough food for 2 months, and avoid going outside until the situation becomes clearer. John sees people posting photos and messages online, pleading for help from the army and police. He decides to do the same, taking a photo of himself holding a paper with his name and address, and uploads it online, asking for help. He watches a video of someone stepping onto their balcony with a phone, trying to get a signal. The person succeeds, but loses balance and falls. Inspired by this, John uses a drone, attaching his phone to it. He connects the drone to his goggles, flying it high to find a signal. The idea works, and he gets a weak signal. He calls his sister, but unfortunately, the drone's battery dies, and it crashes along with his phone. John falls into despair, sitting at his computer to play games to pass the time, but the network disruptions prevent him from continuing. At night, he hears noises from the street and looks out the window. Suddenly, a gunshot is fired in his direction from afar. A policewoman is seen trying to kill zombies and escape. However, the zombies outnumber her, and she runs out of bullets. She tries to reload quickly, but doesn't succeed in killing the remaining zombies. They attack her, and she attempts to commit suicide but fails. The zombies knock her gun away and drag her across the ground. John witnesses this and wants to retrieve the gun for self-defense. Later, he hears loud banging on his apartment door. He grabs a bat, preparing himself. The banging causes the fridge to move, revealing a zombie behind it. John panics, trying to push the fridge back to block the zombie, but realizes it won't work. He runs to the balcony, pretending to jump. The zombie follows and jumps, falling to its death. John feels relieved and sees a large horde of zombies in the distance, including the policewoman who has now turned into one. He secures his apartment door with nails to prevent any further intrusions. John discovers that all his food fell out of the fridge during the struggle, leaving him disheartened as it was his only supply. He hears a woman screaming in the street and records a video, saying, "This is my second day trapped at home. I don't know what to do. It's a miracle I'm still alive." After 7 days of the outbreak, John takes out his father's bottle of alcohol, drinking it out of desperation as there's nothing else to drink. He covers his entire balcony to prevent zombies from seeing him. Watching the news, he sees footage of zombies filling the streets. He eats instant noodles, but accidentally spills water while throwing the TV remote, wasting some of his limited supply. John becomes upset, realizing the water is cut off, and the little he has left is all that remains. He regrets spilling it, knowing he must conserve every drop, and he was forced to drink water from the ground. Yet, despite everything, he never left the house, even though he wanted to go out to get the policewoman's gun. When he turned on the TV, he found the same news over and over. The country couldn't find a solution. The broadcasters urged people to stay home. Days passed with nothing new. He started drinking his father's alcoholic beverages and kept dancing. Due to his drunkenness, he imagined his family entering the room. When he saw his mother, he hugged her. Then he came back to his senses and realized it was just a hallucination. He cried because of his state and felt dizzy due to the lack of water. Then he received a voice message from his mother and tried to find a signal to listen to it. He missed her terribly and wanted to check on her, so he climbed out of the window to get a signal and respond to her. The move worked, and his mother answered. She told him they were at his father's company. Unfortunately, zombies invaded the company where his mother and sister were. He heard their screams as zombies attacked and killed them. He cried over them, filled with rage. He started destroying the house, breaking the TV. He went mad and left his apartment. He killed the zombie outside, screaming in despair. He saw his neighbor on the ground eating from a corpse. His neighbor began approaching him, and he yelled at him to back off. But John's loud voice attracted more zombies towards him. He ran quickly to get to the elevator, but there was a zombie inside. So he ran and hid, holding his breath to avoid being detected by the zombies. He sneaked back to his apartment. However, a blind zombie appeared behind him. John stood still, silent, letting the zombie pass by. When he returned to his apartment, the zombies heard him closing the door. They tried to break in, but he held onto the doorknob until they left. After 20 days, he had finished all the alcohol bottles. He saw power stations exploding, and the electricity in his building went out. He lost hope, sinking into depression. He tried to record a video, but couldn't speak a word due to his despair. He decided to end his life, tying a rope around his neck, surrendering to suicide. But suddenly, a laser light shone on him from the opposite building, pointing to the word, no. John reconsidered and untied himself. It turned out there was a woman living in the opposite building named Kim. She used the laser to stop him from committing suicide. She pointed to words on a board to communicate with him, asking him not to speak so the zombies wouldn't hear. They agreed to communicate through sign language. She scolded him for thinking about suicide. They planned to meet at the window at 7 a.m. the next day. John felt joy knowing someone else was alive, regaining hope. Kim's home was equipped with traps and weapons, and she had enough food. The next morning, John woke up late for their meeting. When he looked for her, she wasn't there. Kim spotted him and ensured the area was safe before coming out. She scolded him for being late, and they introduced themselves. Later, a zombie entered Kim's house, She agreed with John to meet again at the window at 7 a.m. She returned to her house, where the zombie was caught in her trap. She killed it with a hammer. That night, it rained. John and Kim used the opportunity to put out cups and plates to collect water. The next morning, John met Kim at the window, visibly hungry. She understood and decided to send him food. She tried, throwing a ball to establish a line between their buildings, but the plan failed due to the distance. John used a drone he had, attaching a string to it, successfully connecting their buildings. Kim sent a bag of food to John, making him very happy. However, a zombie grabbed the string in the street, pulling it hard, causing Kim to fall. The table holding the string dangled over the edge. The zombie climbed the string. Kim, unconscious, was in danger. John distracted the zombie with the drone. Meanwhile, many zombies tried to break into John's apartment. The climbing zombie grabbed the drone but was killed by Kim, who had regained consciousness. The zombies below screamed at her. John wrapped his feet in tape to muffle his steps, avoiding detection. He left his apartment with a stick, finding his neighbor's corpse on the ground. He took the keys to his neighbor's apartment, entering to gather food. He found a corpse in one of the rooms and 2 walkie-talkies. He checked if the corpse was alive or dead. Suddenly, a zombie attacked him from behind. John used the dead body as a shield and escaped back to his apartment safely. He enjoyed the food he had collected and sent some, along with a walkie-talkie, to Kim. The next day, they communicated through the walkie-talkies. John was happy to finally talk to someone. Kim thanked him for the food, but he told her she saved his life. Kim replied, "I didn't save your life. You wanted to live and found a reason to keep going because of me." John responded, "Anyway, without you, I would have died." They changed the subject, cooking together at the same time. They talked all day, getting to know each other better. Kim told him she was afraid of heights. John was surprised that someone who had cut off a zombie's hand could fear heights. Kim explained, "I don't consider them human, so it was easy for me to cut off his hand." They both heard the sound of rain and were happy to collect water. It turns out that this wasn't the sound of rain. It was a large crowd of zombies running quickly and entering the building. Our 2 protagonists were lying on the ground, trying not to make any noise, but Kim accidentally knocked over a table, making a sound that the zombies heard. They began approaching Kim's apartment. She became very anxious and informed John of the disaster she was in. Naturally, John decided to help her by calling the phone in another apartment in Kim's building. The zombies were distracted by the sound and didn't break into Kim's apartment. Afterward, the 2 decided to leave the building, get to the street, and find a safe place. Kim believed there was a specific building where the 8th floor was safe and had no zombies. She assured John of this, saying she had been observing that floor for several days and hadn't seen any zombies there. Kim decided to risk her life and go down first. She tied herself with a rope, jumped out of her window, and fought off any zombies that got in her way, using her weapons to eliminate them. Despite their large numbers, she managed to handle them. John was impressed by her. She managed to retrieve a gun from the ground, and just as a zombie was about to bite her, John intervened and saved her. He then joined her, fighting the zombies. The 2 teamed up, fought off the zombies, and ran into the building. They locked the door, but the glass wouldn't hold for long, and the zombies were about to break through. Our heroes got into the elevator and were safe for a short time. They reached the 8th floor and inspected it, finding no trace of any zombies. They tried to open the doors of the apartments, but all were locked. Suddenly, they saw a zombie coming toward them, followed by a large horde seconds later. John managed to knock down a metal door in their path, delaying them and fighting them off until Kim managed to open one of the apartments. A man pulled her inside, threw a smoke grenade, and called for John to come in. John entered, and they were safe. However, Kim was suspicious of the man and asked him who he was. The man, named Sang, told her she should thank him. Kim was surprised to find a man living there and said she had been certain no one was on the 8th floor. Sang replied that he also thought he was the only one alive in the area. He offered them water, but Kim was still uneasy. When she saw him drink from the same water, she felt reassured and drank. Sang also offered them food, telling them to eat until the rescue team arrived. They were shocked and overjoyed to learn that a rescue team was coming. Sang explained that he had learned this from the television. John was so happy that he hugged Kim, feeling hopeful about surviving. However, minutes later, John lost consciousness. It turned out that Sang had drugged their food. Kim couldn't react in time and also passed out. Sang dragged her into one of the rooms, tied her up, and locked her inside. When Kim woke up, she found a zombie tied up next to her. Sang, from outside, released the rope holding the zombie, causing it to move closer to Kim. It turned out that the zombie was Sang's wife, and he wanted her to feed on any human to survive. He let her attack Kim. At the same time, John woke up, pointed a gun at Sang, and called him a monster. Sang replied that he was trying to save his wife from death. He let go of the zombie's rope, and John ran to grab it, pulling the zombie away from Kim. Sang grabbed a knife and told John to let his wife eat Kim, promising to let him live and give him any food he wanted. Sang pleaded with John to agree, but John couldn't hold on to the rope for long, and it slipped from his hands. Kim screamed, and John tried to open the door. Sang fell to the ground. Suddenly, Kim stopped screaming, making them think she had been bitten. Sang opened the door to see what had happened, but his wife, the zombie, attacked him. Kim grabbed the gun and pointed it at them. Sang allowed his wife to feed on him, and she devoured him completely. Kim shot and killed them both. The gunfire attracted all the zombies in the area to their apartment. Kim and John heard the sound of zombies approaching, and they became hopeless, thinking this was the end. Kim handed the gun to John and asked him to shoot her. After some hesitation and tears, John agreed. But suddenly, they heard the sound of helicopters. They looked out the window and saw the helicopters. They rushed to the roof, hoping to be seen by the helicopters. They threw smoke bombs and fought off any zombies that stood in their way. While climbing the stairs, the zombies managed to knock Kim down. John intervened and saved her, trying to hold them off with a bicycle. He ordered Kim to go to the roof and signal the helicopter. She made it to the roof, but the helicopters had already left. John followed her, locking the door behind him to buy some time. He was devastated to find that the helicopters had left. He shouted and called for help, realizing this was truly the end. The zombies broke through the door and rushed toward them. John killed 2 of them with the gun, but he ran out of bullets. Suddenly, a military helicopter appeared, and soldiers opened fire on the zombies, killing them one by one. John and Kim were rescued and boarded the helicopter, which flew them to safety. Miraculously, our heroes survived. They heard on the radio that over 50,000 people in the city had been infected and that the city was nearly deserted. The military revealed that they had located John through the photo he had uploaded. And with that, the episode concluded. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, and activate the bell to receive all new updates. See you in the next video.